Welcome back to the Patient Magnet podcast. My name is Jared Rohr. I'm the CEO and founder of Aesthetic Conversion, a web and SEO agency. And everything we talk about here in the Patient Magnet is always focused on how do you drive more leads to your business, and then how do you convert those leads at a higher rate, and then how do you engage with them for the long term. And one of the motivations for building out your digital sales funnel is possibly, at least at the end, to sell. You want to have a really butt-kicking marketing strategy in place as you are building out your kind of private equity plan. And I thought this was so interesting. We get to work with Angela a lot, and I've had the pleasure of knowing her for years now in the industry. Her and her husband are incredible, and they sold their practice in recent years. And I thought it would be so interesting to bring on, hey, what are some of the considerations that clinics need to make as they are considering selling their businesses, or as maybe they're building to sell, or maybe they can even fight some of the stigma. Does everybody have to sell? So we're going to answer all of that today and get all of your burning questions answered. So Angela, I'm so grateful you're here. Can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, maybe your a little bit of your backstory?
Absolutely.
You and your amazing husband. Your what is it?
Absolutely.
Red hot monogamy? Is that your guys' other?
Yeah,
Yes, I
it
love
is.
it. I love it.
That's fun. That's fun. Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Jared. Like you said, we've known each other for a long time. We used to be neighbors. Um, so yeah, my husband and I opened a practice, I think now it's been 28, 29 years ago. Started as a very small chiropractic regenerative medicine clinic, 800 square feet. We had 4 expansions. We've actually had 2 exits, which we can kind of talk about the difference in how those 2 sales kind of panned out. We sold our practice in April of last year. And oh boy, I learned things like never imagined I would have to learn through that whole experience. And in the past few years, we have been consulting, helping clinics, just teaching them our model, lead nurture, sales, admin, anything like that, kind of a little mix of everything. But this is something that I kind of do gratis in this space, is this kind of private equity business sale, just kind of mentoring and support, because the industry is really lacking somebody in this space who's not going to charge you an arm and a leg for good advice from an owner's perspective. And look, we screwed up in a lot of ways. There are a lot of things that we did right, a lot of things we, in hindsight, we wish we would have done differently. And had I been, everybody's like so hush hush because you're under NDAs. Like, again, I can't tell you how much I sold for, but I can tell you all the stupid things I said and did. So
Yeah.
I'm not under NDA for every single thing. So,
Yeah.
there's a stigma to it, good and bad. And, people don't talk about it enough. And I wish they did.
I'll tell you, they sold for $5 billion. It was amazing. Do you feel like do you feel like now that obviously you've been through a couple of exits and you've spoken to plenty of clinicians, do you feel like people often overestimate or underestimate the amount of money that they think they're going to get out of their clinic?
Way overestimate.
Way overestimate?
Way overestimate.
Are there ranges that people should expect? I mean, obviously, everybody's clinic is completely different, but like it's like, hey, if you sell your clinic for $10 million, you're doing a great job. If you sell it, you might only get 5. You might only get 1. Who knows? Are there ranges that people should know?
I mean, no, there how the sale is all based, and I think that was kind of one of my misunderstandings. Well, first of all, we sold like our insurance-based portion of our practice when we did that last big expansion and went in that big 5,000 square foot space with the film studio and everything. And it was to a colleague, and they decided they were going to do a big pivot after COVID, and they basically gave the practice back to us and said, here. But because it was a colleague, because the whole thing was like, I don't know, like buying a computer or something. I mean, it was just the
Yeah.
easiest like transaction.
Yeah.
So in my mind, that's what I was thinking
Yeah.
was going to happen when we, you know, sold in the end for everything. And I think, you put, as an owner, you have valuation on things that you put blood, sweat, and tears into, right? Like, I've got 138,000 followers on Instagram, which is what I told a mentor who's in the space, not my buyer, but I told a mentor, and she said, "You sound like an idiot. You need to stop saying that." Like,
Yeah,
nobody's buying your Facebook followers
it's true.
or your
Very
Instagram
true.
followers. Like, so, and I saw that as, if I were buying a practice, what would I want to see? I would want to see the decor and the reviews and the followers and the stuff. And no, I mean, they want to see, good reviews, and they want to see that you have a following, but that's not it's just math.
Yeah.
It's just bottom line math.
So let's break down a little bit of the math that is important that clinic owners should know that they should focus on. What are some of those areas that it's like, hey, realistically, yes, a good reputation can be important, but it's not going to really impact your valuation. It just
Mm-mm.
might impact their eagerness to close you. It might make them want to
Correct.
close on you more. It's not going to give you more money. It's just going to make you look like a better deal,
Correct. Yeah, all
you
those
know?
things like reviews, your location,
Yeah.
your team, all of those things are going to make them pick you over
They're
somebody else, but it's not going to
correct.
change your offer, right?
No, it's a good thing. It is not going to get you more money though.
Right. Right.
What are the things that get you more money? What are the
It's
things
that
that they're actually doing the math on?
stupid word. It's EBITDA.
EBITDA.
Period. Period. And all that is like your earnings to debt ratio in really
Yeah.
simple layman's terms. Like,
Yes.
how much money do you bring in versus how much money do you have going out?
Yeah.
And then there's a multiplier on that.
Yeah.
So, and that varies from buyers, like who you're selling to. It varies year to year. It varies seasonally. There can be a 4 times multiplier. If there are fewer practices for sale, fewer practices worth buying, you can get 6, 7 times multiplier. If somebody has told you you're getting a 10 times multiplier on your EBITDA in aesthetics, they're lying. It's
Okay,
not going to happen.
I
No,
heard someone say that
no,
on stage last weekend. They're
no,
like, "Oh yeah, you should be getting 10x." I was like,
no,
"Yeah, right, dude. I know tech
no,
companies that don't get
no.
10x.
It's not happening. It's not
10x
happening.
is wild."
It's not happening. The highest multiplier I know of in the industry in the last like 4 years, 4 or 5 years that's happened is a 7 times multiplier,
Yeah,
and that's
a
high.
seven or a 7 or 8 would be to me if you had an incredibly rocking business. Like there's a world where I would believe somebody sold for 7 to 8, but
And
10,
nobody's getting 10.
no way,
Nobody's getting 10.
no
And
way.
if you're holding out for 10, you're going to be holding out for
Buckle up.
I mean,
So to dispel some of that, I love that you wanted to keep that in simple terms. To break down EBITDA a little bit more as well, I believe I have the acronym right. It's earnings before taxes, appreciations, amortizations, and
depreciations.
amortization, depreciation and amortizations, which at its simplest, you can think of it. This is not correct. You can think of it in terms of like what your like actual net profit is, but then there's a little extra math added in for like, okay, great, you bought this laser and the laser's also depreciating. You have this locate, like they're also adding in your assets into that. But if you just think in terms of what your actual net profit margin is, that's you're going to be in the ballpark of
Yeah.
you can get an actual EBITDA evaluation, but like it's basically how much money did your business actually make at
Yeah.
the end of the
And
year.
you know what, that's another mistake I see owners making early on. Don't go spend a ton of money and hire somebody to do a valuation yet. You've got
Right.
an accountant, you've got a CPA, they should be able to get you that number. Just understand what you're looking for and start working on that with your accountant, and they can get you pretty close. And most of these, if we're looking at a true private equity buyer or firm, they're going to do their own due diligence anyway. They're not
Yeah.
going to take your word for it that that's what it is. They're going to do
Right.
their due diligence and tell you what they found. So just don't spend a bunch of money on the front end when you're like starting out this whole thing.
Yeah.
Like,
You just need a ballpark in your own head of like, okay, great. I know that, and what an average clinic sells for 4 to 5 right now. Is that maybe close to 4 to 5
um,
X?
yeah,
I would
maybe
think.
maybe we're in the 5 to 6. There are,
Yeah.
we've been through some kind of supply and demand, right? We've been through some kind of difficult economic times lately. Clinics aren't doing as well as they would, so there aren't as many in that range. And I think that's the other thing people need to understand too. Like, not every clinic is a fit for private equity.
Yeah. I'd love to talk about that.
I mean, just they're just not. So private equity is and not every clinic is a fit for every different private equity group,
Yeah.
right? Every
Do you
private equity group is looking for a different thing.
type
Some
of
of them
business
are
to fit
even
in? Mhm.
regionally. Like
Yeah.
some of them, we won't go all the way out west, or we don't do the southeast, or we don't do, whatever. And that's just because of their resources.
Yeah.
But, I think generally speaking, um, private equity groups are looking at over 1.5 to 1.8 in like top line revenue. Um, they don't really have qualifications for EBITDA. That's just how they're going to make your offer. Um, they're looking for a high percentage of revenue coming in injectables.
Oh, they
Now
are.
they are, and
That's
that this
interesting.
is another thing that confuses owners. So look, as owners, we know like there's not a lot of profit in injectables. So we think,
No.
oh, they're gonna, because this is all my money's coming in from talks or whatever else. So private equity groups have this buying power, and they know immediately, like, ooh,
Their margin's going to
you're
be,
doing 65-70% injectables,
yeah.
bring it on, because I'm getting talks for pennies. So
That's right.
I
Because if
know
their
I can.
cogs, if the clinic's cogs for
Correct.
those injectables is 30% of their margin, the PE firm knows right away we can bump that down to 20% of
A
your margin
hundred
because of
percent.
our. Oh, that's
A
really
hundred
interesting.
percent. A
That's so
hundred percent.
cool.
100%. So, some of the things that are not working for you are things that do work for private equity firms. So, another thing that I see a lot of clinics doing right now is like scrambling to add GLP-1s and hormones and stuff like that to their service menu because there is a lot of return on that. And private equity is kind of like, we don't want to see a lot of your revenue in that. We can't, you know, do a buyer's group for compound
And it's
medication.
yeah, and it's
It's the
volatile.
Yeah, it's volatile. We don't know what's going to happen with that. So, they like that. They don't want to see, as an owner, oh, good, you're doing 40% of the revenue yourself. Like, that doesn't work for us. We like a nice, even revenue spread, you know, over providers. Um, and again,
Let's
they're gonna look at those things like your location and
let's touch on that too on because you actually you guys have a very interesting story where I haven't seen the way you sold very often. Most times somebody sells, there's a 5-year contract for the owner, and that they have to stay on afterwards, or 3-year contract for the owner where they have to stay on, and then they have like an earn out period or something like that. So maybe speak a little bit to that, to
shoulda,
the,
coulda, woulda, right?
would you, so if you'd done it differently, would you have said, hey, let's do a buyout or an earn
100%.
out? Oh, why is that?
100%. So here's kind of what happened with us. We started getting offers like early. I mean, we're OGs. We've been around for a long
Yeah, of
time.
course.
There were no aesthetic centers near us when we opened our, aesthetic center. So we started getting offers really early. And my first reaction was, I would never sell this place.
Yeah, of
This
course.
is this is 28 years. This is our family. This is our community. This is our reputation. They're going to change my air kissed blue walls that took me 6 months to pick this color. Like,
Uh-huh.
and my
Yeah,
other thing was like, what would we do? Like, no, this is,
yeah.
this is our lifeblood. What would we do? And then, you know, couple of nights on the porch with a glass of wine, and you're like, hypothetically, like, what would we do? And then you start dreaming of acreage and planting things and a slower pace of life and, whatever. And I'm 57. I'm a little older than my husband, so I got to that, yeah, done part faster than he did. But I had this little thing in the back of my head, like, maybe, maybe that is a possibility. My first thing is, yeah, I got a cash cow. Of course you want it. Like, back off. And, wasn't even thinking about it. And then life changes. I just personally got to the point where like this is frying me. This is burning me out. Um, some personal situations and some health things happened with us, and I was I'm done. I'm ready to go. Um, and I had, kind of already left mentally. And that's not a good place to be as a business owner. Um, and we were in a very unique situation in that we started out as a regen med clinic and grew into aesthetics, and it's kind of everybody else is kind of doing it, starting out as aesthetics and kind of growing
Jumping
into
into
this. Yeah. So we really didn't fit into the kind of larger P buyers model. They're like, well, we don't know what to do with all this joint stuff you got going on over here and whatever else. So, we just kind of thought, well, let's just start having some conversations and we'll see what happened. And we got an offer from one of the bigger groups. We didn't have, I mean, we knew it was going to be based on math. We didn't really know, exactly what it would look like because we were going to have to pull some things. That's not going to include this and it's not going to include that. It's just going to include this. So we didn't really know, but we got an offer, and yeah, that number looked
You're like,
really good.
that's nice. That's
Really, really good. And Brent was like, let's go home and look at it. And I'm like, let's sign it out.
yeah.
Do it. And then I learned this other shocking thing that I didn't know about private equity. I thought like you signed this LOI, which means letter of intent. And so they're giving you this letter saying, this is what we intend to give you for your practice. Now, we're going to do our due diligence, so this number could change. And in the meantime, you can't talk to any other buyers.
Yeah.
So now you're under a no shop. So this LOI now is signed, and other people are calling me with maybe better offers. I don't know, but I can't talk to them. Can't take their offer, can't anything else. So that was a mistake I made.
You can't hear their offers, or you can't sign a
can't
separate
shop.
LOI. Like
You
they have
can't
basically
shop.
first right of refusal.
You can't. You're under a no shop. You're not even
Oh, got it, got it,
supposed to
got
be
it.
talking to other buyers.
You're engaged, basically.
You're engaged.
Yeah.
So could I and should I have taken other LOIs and read them all first before picking the one to sign? 100%. I shouldn't have seen the shiny dollar signs.
Yeah.
So then the other thing that I learned is not all private equity groups get their money the same way to pay you. So some of these bigger private equity groups, what they do is they get, say, 5 practices under LOI.
Yeah.
And then they take those LOIs to the bank and they say, these are the practices that we want to buy. Will you lend us the money to buy these practices? Here's their P&Ls. Here's, here's how much money we can make off of them. Here's whatever. Lend us the money. So I didn't realize that my timeline was going to be based on them getting 4 other clinics
Funding.
under LOI,
Right.
and then getting the bank funding.
Mm-hmm.
So fortunately, we had somebody with some integrity that we were working with at this big company who said, I got to be honest with you, we didn't get funding. So, it's going to take longer than we
They have
thought.
to put a whole portfolio together in
They
order
have
to
to put a
get the
whole
funding for it.
portfolio together. They had a couple of their sellers back out or whatever else. So we're like 19 months into this now.
Oh my gosh.
And in my head, I'm planting green beans in I'm
Yeah,
gone.
of course.
So
Yeah.
at this point I'm tapped out. It's the due diligence for private equity is no joke.
Really.
I mean, they are digging into, you're not hiding anything. They're digging into everything. You are keeping it a secret from all of the people that you love, from your team. It's just emotionally like gut wrenching. You cannot buy any new equipment during this time. You can't make any like instrumental changes. You can't take your foot off the gas. You can't. So it's just a very like very difficult time. So by the time we got to the buyer that we actually sold to, we were done. We were over it. And we did what we thought was kind of taking the moral high ground at that point, because in my head, so for 18 months in my head, I'm having conversations with my team and thinking like how I'm going to tell them. And we know each other personally. I was close. My
Of
team was
course.
family
Your
to me.
family.
And
Yeah.
I'm gutted about how I'm going to have these conversations.
Some
Like
of your team members were literally family.
100%.
Your daughter and
A
your son
hundred
both work
percent,
for
a
you.
hundred
Yeah.
percent. Yeah. So I'm thinking of how I'm gonna have these conversations and thinking, okay, you're clinic number 386 for XYZ, and it just felt wrong. So we decided we had come across this other buyer, husband and wife team, lots of regen med history, and we thought, like, this is it. They can give our team and our patients what they need. Let's take less money. We want out. We want everybody to be taken care of. Let's take less money and just walk. And that's normally not what happens. And I regret that. Um, and for a lot of reasons. My number one reason was you need to, if it's important to you that your team and your patients are taken care of, you need to do your due diligence as a seller just as much as somebody's doing as a buyer. I do not take the buyer's word for it that they're going to pay your team or that they're going to put marketing dollars back into your practice or anything else. Like if that's important, if you just want to like, I just need to take my money and get out of here and I don't care what happens, then don't worry about it. But most of the owners I know are not like that. So, this is when you're under LOI, that's your chance too to do your due diligence. Find other people who've sold to these buyers. Call them, talk to them. Like, what has their experience been like? Because I've got a lot of colleagues who celebrated the big deposit and, stayed for 5 years and like regretted it. So, you know, I, I wish that I would have found the perfect buyer, made my square peg fit in their round hole, and stayed 5 years to work with them and make sure my team, my patients, my legacy, my everything else was secure, and I could have made more money that way. So
Totally.
I tell my clients all the time, like, have conversations now. Start
Yes.
dating now. There's no harm in conversations. People freak out about like, oh my God, I don't want to send them my P&Ls. Whatever. Your
Who
P&Ls are
cares?
not you. Who cares? Like
Who cares?
they're not going to run around and tell your competitor like they're only
No.
making whatever.
Yeah, and
It's
they've
all
seen
confidential.
hundreds of
Yes,
P&Ls that are all dramatically worse, by the way.
yes, yes. So yeah, have the conversations, get the valuations and the P&Ls. Like, do it now. And then if you know like this is the group, I trust this group, this is the group I want to work with, start figuring out like what are their milestones? How many injectors do they want me to have? What do they want my top line revenue to be? Like what does that look like? And you know, benchmark and check in with them. And then also you have a great resource, you have a great mentor, somebody who wants your clinic, who's going to, help you through that process. So, yeah, have the conversations don't hurt. Start like taking all the calls.
Yeah.
Take the calls.
So if you're considering if you're a clinic owner, and maybe we can break this down for a moment as well. If
Mm-hmm.
you're a clinic owner who says, "Yes, I do want to sell." First of all, is private equity their only option? Can they only sell to private equity? Could they sell to a colleague? Could they sell to like are there other avenues for them to
There
sell?
are a million other avenues, but I will say this, even if you think that you are never going to sell, right? Like this is going to be your legacy, you should do this anyway. You have no idea what's going to happen in your life. You could have an aging parent that you're going to have to move home to take care of. You could have a child with a medical situation that needs to be in a hospital out of state. You could be in an, I mean, you never, ever, ever know. So you should act as if no matter what. Keep your books as if, act as if, no matter what.
Because
Um,
that's also just a good business. Like,
well,
you know
100%.
what I mean? If you're just running a good business, private equity
Yes.
will want, but keeping those things in mind too that you brought up, like the owner shouldn't be doing 40% of the revenue, or you know, you shouldn't be too afraid to maximize as much injectables business as you can or disposables business as you can, because they're going to find that attractive as well. Not being too
Yeah.
afraid of that. Um, those are things that you can prioritize now, so that whenever uh, private equity does come knocking, you're ready to go.
Yeah. And it may not just be private equity. And look, there is the full range, right? Like there's the big boy players up here who everybody knows their name, all the way down to um, new startups,
Right? People
who
just want to,
want
yeah,
who just
break
want to
in.
buy, yeah, not have to do the build out or not start from scratch or whatever else. There is a whole range, and there are tiny little private equity groups popping up now. And I find most of my clients are happiest in the middle. If you fit, then that's the really sweet spot, because like some of these big private equity groups know nothing about aesthetics, or they're learning. I mean, I hate to say that, but first they bought up all the dental practices, and then they bought up all the veterinarian clinics, and now they're moving to aesthetics. They know a lot about private equity. They don't know a lot about the place that they're buying. So when you find these kind of middle groups that have a background in aesthetics, are already connected you know, with marketing companies and, reps in aesthetics, and know how, injectors are paid and things like that. My sellers seem to be happier in this kind of middle ground.
Yeah, there is, I think, the morality statement that you brought up earlier. So, you know, we had a company that was interested in purchasing us probably 8 months ago or 6 months ago, where I don't think our agency is in any position to sell right now. We're so young. We have so much more to go. I have so much that I want to grow through and learn through as an owner. But my biggest hesitation as an owner when those conversations started was, oh my gosh, are my people going to be okay? Is my team going to be okay? Like, I've made promises to these people. There's children that I'm helping provide for with my employees. You know, there's grandparents that are being put in homes because of the money that some of our team's making. You know, so it's like I that stuff weighs on me heavily. You know, when those conversations, I can't imagine. You know,
Yeah,
clinic
so
owners,
I
it's the
mean, but
same
if you
deal.
if you and that's one of the reasons why my sellers are happiest in the middle.
Yeah.
Because the colleagues that I know who've taken like these kind of bigger offers and stayed on, well, then these private equity groups, it's all about numbers to them. I'm probably going to really piss some people off saying this stuff, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's all numbers, right?
Yeah.
It's all about numbers. So they come in and they say, this person's being paid too much, so we got to let them go. We're not doing this service anymore because there's not enough ROI on it, and we're not doing this anymore. Now, you as an owner don't have 100% control anymore over these decisions, but you also know your patient base better than anybody else does. And you know that the reason this injector is being paid this salary is because this is what your patient base expects. I mean, you are the one who grew it into something worth buying, and now they're going to undo some of these things based on math. They start getting greedy, and we're going to be penny wise and pound foolish and start cutting. And then you do like the opposite end, which is kind of how I feel we did, and there aren't enough my team is not okay. My team is all gone. There aren't enough resources to support your team. Whereas this kind of middle ground, they both, like, we get it. You're the one who built it, so we want you to have say and control and hear. We understand how this aesthetic industry works, but we're big enough that we've got some buying power, and we've got some resources, and we've got, some other stuff. And there's still some personalization. There's still some boots on the ground. There's still some, we're going to stop by and see the clinic, or call us if you've got a roof leak, or, whatever else. So it's Goldilocks.
Yeah.
So just, kind of where do you fit in that whole kind of scheme?
Now, when it comes to maybe coming back a little bit to the theme of this podcast in general, which is
Mm.
more marketing and sales funnel, how heavily does cost per acquisition of new patients play into somebody's ability to sell well? Is that going to be factored into EBITDA? Is that something that where
I
where
mean,
your cost per
yeah,
acquisition of leads is part of your overhead in general, right? I mean, I would think
yeah, 100%. Yeah, I
the
mean,
lower you're able to get that, the better.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's gonna matter because again, the money you're gonna get is gonna be based on what's the difference between what's coming in and what's going out.
yeah.
So yeah, hugely, hugely
So
important.
what are
And
maybe? Oh, go ahead.
that's the other thing. Is there a group that's if you found that perfect like cost of acquisition, is your new group going to allow you to keep this marketing company that's working?
True.
Like
True.
ask this if they're like, nope, we've got this
And it's like,
mass marketing,
mm,
whatever that's just burning through leads and money. So like, that's your turn to ask those questions. Look, I got it dialed in. Can I keep my marketing company?
that happened to us a year and a half ago with a very large client that we love. They got bought and they said, "Oh, we have this preferred agency that we always use." I said, "Hey, it's no stress, no problem. We'll transfer everything over to you guys." But uh, you know, I know that the numbers we were getting them were better
Mm-hmm.
than the new agency that swooped in, which
Yep.
is fine. They enjoyed the little sale. So what
Yeah.
are maybe some of those? What are those core fulcrums? What are those core metrics that the clinic should be focusing on? Like, okay, great. If I'm going to make sure that I'm a that I look good in the eyes of a PE firm that might want to buy me, or maybe somebody else that might want to buy me, but maybe I'm not considering it right now. What are the things that they should be doing, this month and this year in their clinic to ensure that in the future, whenever they're ready to go, they could sell and get an excellent, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6x.
Okay. Well, here's a couple of pieces of advice, and this is the one when I tell clinics to do it, they go, "Oh," and I'm like, "I'm saying it, like you
Okay.
got to do it."
Uh-huh.
Okay, so there's this thing called FF&E, and it's furniture, fixtures, and equipment. So
Okay.
basically, it's anything in your office or clinic that is not nailed down, that's movable. And you have to have an FF&E list to turn into the buyers.
Down to the pens.
Pens is probably more inventory, but down
Okay.
to the
Okay.
stapler,
Yeah.
down to the label maker, every
Hmm.
piece of equipment. And you have to write and this is what we were talking about, the depreciation thing that comes into it. You have to write down what it is, the serial number, the year you purchased it, and what you paid for it.
Whoa.
Now, in a almost 6,000 square foot clinic
A lot of stuff.
with 13 treatment rooms, you can only imagine how many days I spent crawling around on the floor reading serial numbers off of treatment tables and chairs and
Yeah.
bookshelves and
Yeah.
everything else. So, again, that's just a good business practice.
What's the easiest way to manage FF&E? Is it doing a quarterly review and just like obviously you sweat through it and you do it once, so you have a fat
And
list.
yeah, and then just add anything that new that comes in the office, just keep a spreadsheet, put it in right away. And I tell clients who are doing it, I'm like, listen, you get your injection tray and somebody puts a laptop on it, and somebody's going to be the reader and somebody's going to be the typer, and you just roll around
Yeah.
your clinic and just, I don't, whatever you got to do,
Yeah,
Red Bull, coffee.
yeah, exactly. Take a long weekend, order a bunch of pizza, put some headphones in, and just and
Yeah,
crush through your FF&E.
just get it done. And then when a
That's
new
great
piece of
advice.
equipment, but like here's the other thing for new people, when I get new clients, I tell them like, okay, we're going to begin with the end in mind, right?
Yeah,
So that you're not 28 years and 6,000 square feet in doing your FF&E. Like
yeah,
every time you make a purchase, put it on this list.
cool.
So like start getting things organized and getting things together. I see a lot of clinics like, okay, yeah, let me get my SOPs and my employee manual and my what. No,
Yeah.
because your buyer may change all of those things.
Right. fine for you if you're going to be managing your business, have your
Right,
SOPs and all that stuff. But if you're
right.
trying to sell, they don't care.
Don't like back up and start working on those.
Right.
They don't care about that. Get your finances in order. Get a great, stop using your brother-in-law, who is a CPA.
Uh-huh.
Get somebody in the aesthetic space who understands the cost of goods and the depreciation, and start getting your money in order.
Do you have anyone you recommend for CPAs? I have a guy that I love, but I don't know if he's
Yeah, I
experienced
do.
in the
Yeah, I
space.
do. Her name is Stephanie. I'll send you her information. She's
Hmm.
just aesthetics, and I love her because
Okay.
she understands this. But
Yeah.
start getting those things in order, and don't worry about hiding the fact that like we pay our cell phone and our kids' cell phone and our
Yeah.
car and our whatever else through our business. Leave it on there. They're going to do what's called scrubbing later, and they're going to scrub that stuff out, and it will kind of get added back in. But start getting organized with, you're going to need 3 years of P&Ls, you're going to need 3 years of tax returns. They're going to want you to run reports from your software system. For the love of God, organize it. Like,
Hmm.
make sure your cost of goods is tied to product. Make sure your reporting is correct in there. Um, Start looking at your liabilities, and that in your booking software. Any gift cards,
Oh yeah.
services, or
Holy
anything
smokes.
that
Membership dues.
that you have pre-sold, that money is going to come off your buying price. So, for instance, we had $120,000 in gift cards and prepays. So that comes, that's off right away because, and look, you want this if you care about your patients. You want the new owners to honor those services, but that money didn't come into them. So you need to compensate them so that they can honor those things. So know that
I
that's coming out.
I was working with a clinic who had, by speaking of gift cards really quick, I was working with a clinic who had an awesome gift card program where they were like, consistently selling them, but they were switching over the software and they had asked us to help them with the switch.
Mm.
And I said, hey, by the way, this software is going to send an email out to everybody notifying them of their balance. And they were like, please, is there any way that we can't do that? And I was like, why? There's $550,000 worth of liabilities in our
Oh my
out
God.
to all of our patients. If we did that, it would cripple us if they all tried to take advantage of it this
Mm.
month. And I was like, okay. I was like, we'll work around it. Don't you worry. But I immediately realized, oh my gosh, like that's the dark side of selling gift cards or having even membership dues, where it's like those are liabilities,
Their
not
liabilities. It's
income.
not, yeah, it's not income. So yeah, like be smart, put expiration, whatever your state mandate expiration is on your gift cards. If you're thinking, we're going to sell in a couple of years, then, and you have a giant gift card program like we did, like maybe start not pushing those gift cards as much and call the people with the big gift cards and get them in. And, it's, the money's going to be spent either way, whether the person comes in and redeems it or you got to pay it back to so like get the gift cards out of there. So that's a good prep thing. Yeah, just get an attorney and plan in your, lots of owners get to the point where they want to sell because they're not making any money themselves personally.
Yeah.
And that's not a great place to be in. You don't have a lot of negotiating skills, you don't have a lot of whatever, and a sale is going to cost you some money, right? You're going to have to pay, for instance, this big group that we did our first LOI with, we had a 3-month due diligence. They hired an outside company, and Brent and I and our accountant had to be on like 2 to 3 3-hour calls like every other day for 3 months, and we paid our accountant so much money in that time frame. Yeah, to do that. And when all was said and done and we got out of that contract, we were like, okay, can we get your reports and your evaluations? And they're like, yeah, for $20,000. And we're like,
Just
we already
email it to
paid that
me.
much money on our end, like
Yeah.
for it, like it's our report. So just know that it's gonna cost you a little bit of money to sell. You're gonna want to have an attorney to look over your LOI. You're gonna want to have an attorney who's gonna look over your asset purchase agreement when it comes. You're gonna, want to have all these things. So start doing that. Another thing that like owners don't think of is what are you going to do next?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. What is next?
What is next? So if you're like me and it was sale and leave, I now have a non-compete. So I can't even consult with any clinic within a 75-mile radius of my old clinic. Old clinic.
75. Holy smokes.
75-mile radius. And whatever, I thought, but that doesn't matter. I'm not even gonna work. I'm gonna move to the country and grow green beans. And now I'm like, oh, I should have
Now
rethought
you're
that.
consulting. Yeah.
Yeah, now I'm consulting,
Exactly.
and all of my, the colleagues that I know really well are down there saying, I'm like,
Sorry.
call me in 3.5 years. We'll
Yeah. Call me when
chat,
my
So,
statutes of limitations is up.
yeah. So think of like, what are you going to do? Even if you're staying on for those 5 years, can those 5 years come to an end? If it's a great group, you probably have the option to stay on longer if you want. But what does next look like? Like, think of that now. What does it look like? You are not going 20 miles down the street and opening another clinic
Yeah.
using the base you already have for obvious reasons. So, like, start thinking in your head, like, what does that look like? Are we going to move? Are we going to reinvest? Are we going to start another clinic? Do we have the assets for that? Do we whatever? Um, the other thing you have to think of, when this is another stupid thing I said, and I'm just very thankful. You'll hear me talk a lot about my mentor. It's Rebecca at Well Labs. I didn't fit into her model, but I am so glad that I had her, because there were some times when I just kind of um sounded like an idiot through the whole thing. But kind of one of the things that I thought as we were selling is, when this is done, like, I'm going to sell this person this clinic and all the lasers are going to be paid off and they're going to be getting this deal. Like, this would be my dream. They're going to be getting debt free. All of these, I will pay off. I'll do that for them. I'll pay off all these lasers. She's like, yeah, like that's a legal requirement. Like,
You're like,
don't
oh.
don't push that as like your selling point, because it's required legally
Yeah.
to give all of these things free and clear. So there is a new thing I learned again. There's a thing called a UCC filing. So if you buy a laser or take out an SBA loan or you sign a lease for a hydrofacial machine or whatever, these companies go and they file a lien against your business and your equipment. So when you go to sell, that money, all those dollars go into an escrow account in an attorney's office, and then they go to all of those people who have filed UCC liens, and then they come to you. If you have a SBA loan or something like that that hasn't filed a UCC, you can decide to keep that and keep paying on it forever if you want. That's not part of the asset, so you can, SBA loans sometimes are really good interest rates, and you can just keep it and keep, making your payments on it if they haven't filed a lien against the practice. But any assets you have and anybody who's filed a UCC lien needs to be paid first. So as an owner, like, you're thinking like, this is how much I owe on this, and this is how much I need. Go pull your UCC liens first. You may have liens that you didn't even know about. I've had some clients that liens were pulled on them and the laser had been paid off, but they hadn't pulled that UCC lien off. So go check all your UCC filings and see what liens are filed against you. Um, keep up to date. Like, what is the payoff amount on this? Sometimes you can negotiate. if you're getting close to a sale, like I think we're closing in October, what's my payoff balance? And you can get it written, we'll take off this much interest or, whatever else. But like, just start doing the business, just math. It's so much math. It's just
Yes.
math.
Yeah. But it's good to do it so that you can prep for winning down the road, whether that is in October or whether that is in October of 2030.
Yeah.
Making sure that you've got all of that tied up now instead of later. I didn't even know about the
Yeah.
UCC loans
Yeah.
either.
I
The
didn't,
UCC liens.
I didn't until we did it either. And there's, it's so weird. Everybody's kind of like got a different feeling about this. Some people are like, I guess I failed. I had to sell. And when we told people we sold, some people would say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." Wait, why are you sorry? Like,
Yeah, they're like, you gave up. You're like, no, no,
you
no.
get,
We won. We
yeah.
won the game.
And I think originally when we started getting offers, that's kind of what it felt like to me. But everybody has a personal opinion of whether this is a win or a loss or whatever else. I mean, I guess it's how you see it. To me, you built something that was so great that you had multiple offers to buy it. That's a good thing. I think it's not giving up. It's not quitting. It's not, it's just what happens.
Think that note of what's next is very important. And I think you calling that out, because I have seen a lot of people sell into oblivion. They sell and it's like, oh my God, I don't know who I am or what I'm worth anymore. And there is a level of like that identity crisis, which is probably, anybody that's like saying, I'm so sorry. It's probably coming from a place of, man, if I sold, I don't know who I'd be.
Mm-hmm.
And they're probably projecting that onto you. And so having that, like, I'm going on to more and to bigger and to better
Yeah.
and to my next is, I think, such an important thing for sellers to know who they're going to be after the sale, because I mean, you 28 years, you wrap so much of your identity
A
into
100%. It
owning
was like our
that
fourth kid.
business. Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah.
was our fourth,
That's what
and
you're doing with it.
East Orlando's not. I mean, it's a big place, but it's a small community.
Yeah,
We were really well known in our community, for the
yeah.
work we did and community service and things like that. So yeah, it's definitely a new chapter, but like also like some people on the other end of the spectrum think like, oh my God, I'm going to get all these amazing offers from Allergan and Sciton, and who wouldn't want to hire me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Eh, you may not be as employable as you think you are. So, I mean, like, have a plan. Like, if you get, a gazillion dollars and it's enough to, like, never have to work again, that's great. But I don't really know any owner who has like this has set them up for like, especially if you're planning to buy a house or reinvest in something else. And listen, be prepared, because all that money you got to pay tax on.
True.
So
Very
it's not all
true.
your money.
There's not like a
You're not getting.
1031 exchange kind of tax that you can take advantage of, where it's like,
There
okay,
is,
if we're funneling all that right into something else, then you
there
can
is,
avoid. Oh,
but
okay.
again, be prepared. Like, you got a short window to figure out what that is, where to put
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And one of the things is like, yeah, everybody's like, why are you racing around trying to buy a house? And I'm like, what?
We got to
We got to
avoid
put
our
the money.
tax liability. Thank you very much. We have
We got
giant
some
tax
money we
liability.
gotta, yeah, we gotta get rid of. So like, talk to your accountant. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah.
What is our potential tax bill? What are our options to reinvest this money? How much time do we have?
Yep.
Depending on the time of year you sell and when taxes hit, it could be a couple of months, or you could have a whole year. So, think of the timing and like how quickly do you have to, do something with
That's
this
capital gains
money.
too. I mean, that is a fat
Hmm.
bill
Yep.
if you don't move it around properly.
Yep. Yep. So
Woof.
you don't, you're not, all the money that you are getting isn't going into your bank account.
No. No,
It,
it is not.
it's
No, it
going,
is not.
it's going back to liabilities to the buyer. It's going to those UCC loans. It's going to taxes. It's allocated. It's going to pay your attorney and your CPA for all the work they've done on the sale. So
Is there a world where, and I know we're hitting overtime, so I know I want to wrap
Mm,
up for you. I want to respect your time. But is there a world where a clinic owner doesn't sell and just replaces themselves as you know what I mean, so that they can just go do their thing and kind of collect a check on the business that they built?
100%. I mean, that was our plan, is to turn it over to our children.
Yeah,
That was
somebody.
always our plan, that it was going to be a
Hmm.
family business. Yeah, absolutely.
What are the things
Um,
that stop people from being able to do that? Is it just the way that they structure it? Is it their margin where it's like, oh man, if we pay somebody else to do this, then we don't have enough margin to pay ourselves very much? Or
I mean,
is there?
I think there are a lot of reasons, like for us, our kids were like, oof, yeah, we've seen you doing this for so long. I don't
Yeah.
think we would want to do this all by ourselves. My dream when we started it, and again, there's somebody who shoulda, coulda, who knows if this would have worked out. What in the perfect world, what I would have liked to have done is set up shares and had my team buy it.
Cool. Hmm.
um, and distribute it evenly, either based on their years or their revenue or, whatever else. And, we actually kind of started that, and it just didn't work out that way. But I mean, there's a million other options, you can always just stop too and say our
Sure.
last day is going to be January 1st.
Hmm.
Make some kind of reciprocity with some local businesses and refer people out. You can just stop. Some people are right now being forced to close their doors, but you can, in the olden days when it was like you hang a shingle,
Yeah.
that's what people, you just retired and closed the office. And
Done.
so
Yeah.
you can definitely do that too.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think people knowing that that doesn't, because there are a lot of people that I was talking with Mary Beth Hagan about this, where, there's a lot of people who say, oh yeah, we're gonna scale this business up, and then we're gonna add multiple injectors, then we're gonna get multiple locations. And Mary Beth Hagan was like, not everybody wants that. Like some people just want to work in a clinic for until they're, maybe in their 50s, 60s, and then call it and
And
say,
then
you know
not
what,
work. Yeah.
I did a good
Had
job,
a
and
good
and
run.
now I'm done. Yeah,
And
now I'm done.
it's okay. There shouldn't be any stigma to any way you decide to do it. If you
No.
sell or you write it out, or like even in this economy, like people are having to close their doors,
Yeah.
it's still not a failure. There's so many valuable lessons. You had so much growth from it. It's just a chapter in your story, and it's going to equip you for something else. We bought mountains one time.
Of
We had a ton of failures on our
course.
way to our big, so
Yeah.
it's just a chapter. Like it's different for every single person, but it's prep. God, it's prep. It's start now, no matter what you think, no matter what you hope is going to happen. It's start now. It's just do those things that are good business practices. Have conversations with sellers, like the full range of them. Think about what it looks like afterwards, not just in the dreamy, because I can't grow green beans to save my life, which is why we're back here.
Yet. Yeah, yet.
Yes.
Yet.
Um, it's almost as time, like growing things is almost as big of a learning curve and time consuming as an aesthetics
I've got a
business.
plant in my room that I finally cracked the code on keeping the leaves green. It's like the first time I've
Hey,
ever had a plant that hasn't died on me.
that's hard work. Imagine having acres and you're trying to get kale and watermelon and
No,
green beans and stuff.
no.
It's not
I know Farmer
going well.
Baldasare can do it.
Yeah, it's not
He's
going well for us.
yeah, I bet. So for everyone listening, maybe to kind of put a bow on this whole thing, number one,
Yeah.
it's have consistent habits. So if you're looking to sell, or maybe you're not considering them, but you might in the future, have consistent habits that are just good for tracking. Things like tracking your FF&E, making sure you have a really good CPA, tracking your P&L, tracking your liabilities, and making sure that you have an excellent attorney, as well emotionally, making sure that you know what next would look like for your life. And then also like knowing your UCC liabilities as well, the liens that you have against you. And then from a profit standpoint, from maybe an EBITDA standpoint, you should be always striving to bring that profit, bring that EBITDA up, or bring your profit and margin up. If you are looking to sell, try to decrease your involvement in actual service delivery as an owner, and don't be afraid of having disposables as one of those top line items, as a lot of those um, uh, uh, PE firms look at that positively because they can take advantage of that. And then from the marketing standpoint, just decrease your cost per lead. We could talk
A
more about that in future podcasts, but make sure that your
a
cost per
hundred
acquisition is
percent.
nice and low.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean that it's EBITDA. It all rolls into EBITDA, like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
what you're spending versus what, and call the damn leads.
And call your damn lead. We can go on a whole nother podcast about. In fact, we maybe should do one just on phone etiquette. I would love to pick your brain on that because I
Ooh,
can't tell
that's
you.
my
I know
that's my pet
I
peeve.
think you're the one who taught me double dialing, I think. Oh
Yeah,
yeah. Well, okay. So everybody in the comment
yeah.
section, make sure that you're writing down. Oh my gosh, please let me know when Angela's next podcast is. We'll talk about phone etiquette so that you guys can increase that lead conversion rate. But yeah, if you guys are looking to sell too, if you're looking, Angela has offered this. I know. I don't want to obviously speak for you, but she mentors so many people on how they should be selling their business. Make sure you're reaching. How do they get in touch with you, Angela?
Yeah, so our website is yourpractice.solutions. We'll eventually have Jared redo it for us. We stuck it up there really, really quickly.
It'll look nice.
Um, and we have consulting packages, but listen, if you're in this seller space and like don't know, am I sellable? Can I get sellable? Whatever. That help and that call is free because I just don't feel there's nobody out there who's like helping you watch your back on this thing. And you don't need to spend a gazillion dollars just to learn what UCC is or that your gift cards are liabilities. Like, I am happy just to have that conversation. Someone did it for me, and I feel like, this is my way to pay it forward and do it for somebody else. So I'm happy to talk to you. If I know a buyer that, you are their like perfect match, I'm happy to make introductions. I'm happy to privately give you the dirt on groups that you're talking to that like may not be the best fit or, whatever else.
That
So,
is
but
awesome. That is awesome. So go to yourpractice.solutions
yep,
and then submit the
yourpractice.solutions.
contact form and reach out to you.
Yeah. Or there's a link, just book the free discovery call and we'll chat. And I am all now that I have all this free time, I'm all up in all the owners and aesthetics Facebook groups. So
She
you'll
is, and
probably
I'll
see me
tell you,
there.
and I got to say too, like the people the people that we have mutually spoken to that I know that you're coaching, it is always so encouraging to hear how much value you are adding to people. It always blows my mind. That's why I wanted to have you on the podcast in the first place.
Yeah.
You are building people up in such a great way,
Yeah.
and you are excellently moving into kind of the what's next phase for yourself, which I think is awesome.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I
you're
mean,
leaving.
look, this is the way we ran our practice. We're going to underpromise and overdeliver, and
Yeah,
that's how you build great things. So,
yeah,
yeah,
it's awesome. It's
we're
awesome.
here. Can't wait to talk to more owners. It's
Yeah,
fun
well,
getting to be on this side.
You're doing a great job. Well,
Thank you.
everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you want to get in touch with Angela again, go to yourpractice.solutions and fill out the contact form, or book the call. Especially if you're looking to sell, she's happy to give you more information. If you guys have any thoughts on this podcast, please leave a comment down below in Spotify. And if you want to fight us, whether you're like I disagree, would love to hear it. We'd love to fight you in the comments, or you
Let's
do
go.
agree. I want to hear it. Okay, make sure that you subscribe, whether you're on YouTube or Spotify or wherever else you're listening to this thing on. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, everybody.